All right, welcome back to the Secret Guys channel, everyone. We'll be looking at nationalized industries for this video. Let's look at the basic definition of what a nationalized industry actually is, and then we will discuss. So it says here, nationalized industries are forms which were once privately owned but have been taken over by the government. Um, in recent years, in especially in a country known as Guyana, there has been this agency known as GPL. It was a light agency that supplied light to the economy, but since it was so prevalent, the government had to take over that industry and put it under their branches or their wings to see. So governments seek to nationalize the key industries. Let me just highlight that the key industries, that is the industries on which the government depends for the country's economical survival. For example, Trinidad's oil industries or bauxite in Jamaica. So if you find oil in a particular section of of a country, you can't you can't really even control that, to say honestly. You can't really even make you can't sell it. That will immediately come under the branch of the government, such as if you find oil in your backyard, you cannot utilize that oil. It will be purely government owned, incentivized, so you cannot really do anything in that case scenario. So let's look at the formation of that. So a company becomes nationalized when the government purchases all or the majority of shares in that company. Let's look at the management. Like state corporation, a board of government is appointed. The board reports to the line minister. The executive director heads the company. The audited accounting reports of these companies must be laid with the audit general of the government accounting firm. So let's look at the characteristics of nationalized industries. They are legal entities, that is to say, for number one, they are legal, they're not illegal. The state is the only shareholder, meaning that they buy everything from the business or they buy majority of everything. So it comes under their hands. They are managed by a board of directors that is appointed by the state. They could even use back the same persons that used to manage the business or basically employ the person that used to own the business. See, let's look at some of the advantages of the nationalized industry or nationalized cooperation or nationalized business. So the state has ownership and control, hence profit remains in the country. The company is in a better position to service the needs of the community. For example, the funding of a community project in education, sport, and a cultural project. Nationalization prevents private monopolies from being formed. Private monopolies is an issue because they benefit from economies of scale, and if they are the only producer of a good or service, they can set how they could set the price ceiling for that good or the total cost of that good. So, and this becomes an issue for governments because they can't really control private monopolies a lot. So they usually have to buy that monopoly or buy that business and bring it under their branch in order to make the country safer and better in a generalized sense. Let's look at some of the disadvantages now of the nationalized industry now. Disadvantages, let me just put that in red for fun. So let's look at that. So there's relatively low salaries paid to the executive directors, and it may not attract the best expertise. So the industries may be a drain on the government's revenues, or it may be a drain to actually maintain it. And let's now look at state corporations. So, and these are independent organizations set up by the government to carry out a service. The government does not control the daily operations but can fix the overall strategy and nominate the board of directors. These are usually non-profit making, but in the long term, they may have to be self-financing. State corporations are using the broadcasting field, transportation, power, and telecommunication industries. State corporations can be a news media outlet or something like that, but in democratic countries, they usually don't have that. It's usually privately owned. So state corporations are formed by legislation, i.e., the passing of laws in parliament. For example, they may see a need for cooperation in the aspect of tourism, and that will could form in that case scenario. Let's look at the management of the state cooperation. So, first of all, the government appoints board of directors or board of governors for a stipulated time period. An executive director is also appointed to the head of each organization. The executive director reports the board of directors or directors, which is the same thing. So, let's look at some of the characteristics of state corporations. So, funding is mainly done by the state. So the state appoint auditors monitoring all accounting procedures. Annual accounting reports must be sent to the general auditor. The aim of the state is to not make a profit. It's not look at the government departments. So these include the government ministries, example, Ministry of Finance and Education. Ministers appointed each change of each ministry. These appointments are very important to the run of government. So we did cover off exactly what is a state corporation. Now we're looking at government departments. So let's look at local and the municipal authorities are, and these are government bodies which are run by elected local officials. Example, the Kingston and St. Andrew Corporation, KSAC in Jamaica. These bodies fulfill local needs and allow for more balanced local development. They carry out duties such as cleaning gullies and drains and fixing community roads. So, local and the municipal authorities usually are responsible for the safeguarding and livelihoods of people within the community in general. So, for the next video, we'll be looking into stakeholders and their role in business activities. So, we'll take a stop right there, guys. Subscribe. See you on the next video.